If you're wondering whether a manual hydraulic pallet stacker is the right tool for your small warehouse, a busy garage workshop, or just occasional heavy lifting at home, you probably want to know who will actually benefit, who can safely walk away, and whether the price makes sense for an everyday buyer. Most people who have never handled a pallet jack before hesitate because the idea of moving 2,200 pounds with a hand-operated lever feels both powerful and a little intimidating. That hesitation is exactly why I spent a few days watching how shop owners, delivery crews, and even DIYers actually set up and use the ANTEQUIP 2200 lb manual hydraulic pallet stacker before I hit record. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First, let's talk about the kind of environment where this machine shines. Imagine a boutique furniture shop that receives flat-packed tables on standard open-bottom pallets. The team needs to lift those pallets up to a mezzanine shelf that's just over 5 feet high so they can store finished pieces without crowding the floor. The ANTEQUIP stacker's 63-inch lift height clears that mezzanine comfortably, and because the forks are adjustable, you can snugly grab a pallet that's a bit narrower or wider than the average. In a real-world setting, the adjustment is a quick turn of a knob, not a wrench-requiring operation, which means a worker can switch between different pallet sizes in seconds during a busy shift. Now, who should skip this one? If you run a high-throughput distribution center where pallets are constantly moving at a rate of dozens per hour, you'll quickly outgrow a manual hydraulic system. The stacker relies on a hand pump, and while that pump feels smooth, you still have to pump each lift cycle. In a fast-lane environment, that translates to a noticeable slowdown compared to electric models that lift with the push of a button. Also, if your operation uses block pallets, double-deep pallets, or any closed-bottom pallet style, this unit won't work because it's engineered specifically for open-bottom pallets. Trying to force a closed pallet into the forks can damage both the pallet and the stacker, and the safety interlocks won't protect you in that scenario. What about the everyday buyer? A small business owner who moves inventory a few times a day, a hobbyist who restores classic cars and needs to lift heavy engine blocks on a pallet, or a farmer who stacks feed bags in a barn will find the capacity of 2,200 pounds generous enough for most tasks without breaking the bank. The price point sits comfortably between a cheap hand pallet jack that can't reach a full shelf height and a motorized stacker that costs several times more. For those users, the value comes from the combination of lift height, load capacity, and the fact that you never need to worry about batteries, chargers, or electricity. In practice, you plug the unit into the shop floor, adjust the forks, and you're ready to move. The hydraulic fluid inside is sealed, so you won't be topping it off or dealing with leaks after a few months of use. Let's walk through a typical day in a small warehouse using the stacker. The morning shift starts with the delivery of bulk-packed hardware components sitting on 2 standard pallets. The worker positions the stacker in front of the first pallet, pulls the release lever, and slides the forks under the pallet's open bottom. With a few pumps of the hydraulic handle, the pallet rises to about 4 feet, allowing the worker to roll it onto a raised dock without needing a separate lift. The same action is repeated for the second pallet, and because the stacker's wheels swivel easily, navigating tight aisles is no problem. The only real friction point comes when the floor is slick with oil. The rubberized wheels can slide a bit, so you'll want to keep the path clear or use anti-slip mats. A practical weakness worth highlighting is the manual effort required for repeated lifts. If you're stacking pallets all day, the hand pump will start to feel like a workout. That's not a flaw in the design. Manual hydraulic systems are inherently limited by human power, but it's a trade-off that matters if you're budgeting both time and physical strain. Some users mitigate this by pairing the stacker with a small winch or by assigning lift duties to a rotating crew, but the bottom line is you won't get the push-button convenience of an electric unit. Another nuance is the stability of the load at the top of the lift. The stacker's design includes a safety latch that locks the hydraulic cylinder once the desired height is reached, which is great for preventing sudden drops. However, the latch doesn't lock the forks in place. You still need to ensure the pallet is well centered before lifting. In a busy shop where pallets are sometimes loaded unevenly, that extra step can be easy to overlook and could result in the pallet tipping slightly as you move. The lesson here is to treat the stacker as a precise tool, not a set-and-forget device. If you're a DIY enthusiast who only needs to lift a heavy